And that's a rooster's sound of good morning. Welcome to our African village. It's a morning with rains that just ended in the night long. On a cold weekday morning like this, most people will be still indoors with exception of business farmers, as we shall see in one of the surrounding gardens. As we walk, we shall find a few early laborers already on the job, such as the builders here on the right. Housing is quite crowded here, especially for rental purposes, every space being utilized. If you looked closely far to the right path end, you saw a huge black water tank. All housing in this neighborhood have no tap running water, so those who can afford tanks for water harvesting will be blessed, else one has to move to this village well to fetch water. We proceed through this residential path, hardly used by vehicles, as it's almost the edge end. Ahead, the tiny structure to the right in the corner where the gentleman has come from is the types of outdoor pit latrines we generally have even across the country. A few houses may have inside toilets. Be sure to check out our documentary on the various architectural toilet designs of Africa. Our village housing structures are mostly non-concrete high-wall fenced. There is mostly the natural flower fencing around compounds in some cases like here. So daily, we get to see our neighbors and interact more with updates generally as a community. We pass by this bitter leaf that is known for malaria treatment across traditional Africa. The leaves are squeezed in water to form a thick form that is drunk, or they can be blended into juice. It's very bitter. Today, some of us have learned to can it sauce or eggs to integrate it in different foods. This helps to increase body immunity while reducing its bitterness. Be sure to check out the Black Jack documentary to learn more of herbal uses in Africa. Have you seen tobacco plants before? These here are the tobacco plants. They help in various ways. They don't smell, but some animals still pick up this plant scent, that it chases them away, such as snakes would not dare be near here, especially this house. Also, surrounding gardens with tobacco plant will help keep away pests. We continue to move up through this tiny footpath from its start that leads to the community residences we have been passing, with houses mostly occupied by tenants and some are actual homes. We see more small structures with iron sheets or toilets, while the bathrooms have no top roofing. This here to the left is a tinned kiosk here where they sell mostly perishable products like yellow bananas and green banana plantain, locally called matuk, the staple food in this country. Generally, these are most of the impermanent built local kiosks selling products across the country, affordable for many population businesses. Opposite is the meshed wire kiosk that poultry is sold. Unlike the permanent structure buildings that we see across the road, those with big red doors ahead more expensive. However, in terms of security, the permanent shop structures are better and hold higher product values that aren't perishable. We have reached the sort of main village center road that leads down below to the right into the village town center. If you explored the village documentary to the right with us, you saw the town center. To the left, upper section leads to another village that we shall explore in the future. Then we would have had a full-fledged overview of this village surrounded by quick development, while shrined between a century-year-old tea garden estate that soon may also be gone, with rising urban pressure apartment building businesses to push garden estates far into the villages far away. Alright, this walk held in the morning was to explore the garden venue in this village. A beautiful place talked about with lots of events. We have passed the signpost of it, the Bliss Gardens. Here to the left is the impermanent structure of a church for born-again Christians. Several open crusades are held here. They will be putting a more permanent structure in future. As we walk the behind of this wall to the right is the first flat building we passed earlier, established in this village, also home to the only supermarket here as explored in the Village Walk documentary. And to the opposite end of, as we peek through this gate, one would think, is it a business area or apartment? It was actually the gardens that we shall come back to later on. So proceeding further down the path, thinking the destination is ahead, it was interesting to find an open area village garden just at the back of the town center. Looks like a beautiful green ahead with lots of plantain, locally called matuk. This banana crop is cooked raw to be eaten, different from yellow bananas. But before heading forward, look how far we've so far come. Amazing, right? Now, as we proceed forward on this tiny path, to our right, these flowery green trees aligning by the path. These plants are used to boundary mark land. In the times of our ancestors, before the modernized surveying and current stone landmarks, our ancestors used these plants to mark one's land. If one purchased land, these plants would be planted immediately and they grow fast within days, marking off the area. Today in villages like here, people still use them, as you can see. Not to mention how expensive conducting land surveying can be today, especially for the people in rural villages. So why not do it still the ancestral way of land marking anyways? Here you had a closer look at the plants. But also, we saw a closer look at the horizon at hill not far from this village that is quickly developing with real estate infrastructure housing. One can say the village in this green will not be far from also be gone soon, engulfed in real estate buildings. Well, that's why it's important to enjoy our green today. So let's move and explore the gardens this morning and see what the local farmers are up to. Hehe. Ahead to our right, there are young bean seeds recently planted that are now just sprouting out beautifully. The land is clear with no weeds and the beans can breathe freely. There is also the young plantain to add to the mix that will provide shade to the beans during the hotter seasons after the rains. Also ahead, we start to see the farmers. Let's hurry on and see what this young family of farmers is up to. It's a beautiful green scenery to enjoy the gardens, but as we cross over the horizon, that's fast developing where former forest hills and gardens are now engulfed with storied houses. It's scary how this village just across the pond will be like in the next decade, engulfed too in urban development. Well, we still need food growth, but that will be a future discussion. Let's continue to enjoy our garden walk. To the right here is the ant hill. Have you been following our Friday anthill series? Oh, that's great! If not yet, every Friday visit an anthill with us. Friday is a good story about anthills, but it's a different story like today, finding anthills in gardens. Now, this anthill here, like many in gardens, can be problematic. The termites can attack the crops. The squirrels become their hideout home as they also eat on the crops. Add the snakes find solace in anthills as a home if not attacking the squirrels. Now in that food chase, the farmers and snakes may accidentally meet each other and consequences can be catastrophic on both sides. Let's say anthills are better placed in hills or forests, not gardens, so all nature can stay peaceful. So help us God. Alright, we've reached the farmers, and here we see this boy pushing the wheelbarrow, one of the garden tools today used to carry heavy load food. In Africa, the young generation work close by the elders to learn. The boys with fathers or uncles and the girls with mothers or aunties. Here they purchased a cassava garden and I had dug it out, packing it for sale. I was blessed to buy from them and get 3 root tubers that cost $1.5. Food has indeed become expensive even in villages. This food is packed and sold in the village center that we once visited in one of our village walks. Check it out! The cassava is packed in a sack and pushed on the wheelbarrow back to the village for sale. It's easier than carry the heavy load. So you might be wondering, purchased? Yes! Today farmers owning land can plant a crop. Then a businessman like this man will find the food growing and negotiate the price with farmer. The businessman will harvest then the food and sell it himself for the profits. It's an interesting business venture, especially if the crops all come out and are not affected by the pests and diseases, and later alone weather. People who don't have land but want to engage in food sales can adapt this model too. Here in this space, we see all the cassava crops that have been dug out. Hang on to learn later how it's done. Because first let's check out the other tenants in this garden. We mother hen and her family. Hens love being in gardens, especially at harvest time like this. When the farmer dug out these cassava stems, it means the insects and worms come out the ground, which the hens love to poke at as food. Fresh, wet soil like this has really great worms, and mother hen and family will surely have a blast. And of course here, we see the rooster that's monitoring its family as a father. Is it monitoring or it came to enjoy the worms party? Alright, let's try to follow back the farmers and see what next we can learn from a young African family of farmers. This was my first in such a long time now I think about it. It's very rare today to find a mother, father, and children farming together. May the universe tighten their unity forever. So here, we see it's not just the cassava food that they harvested, but had also banana, locally called matuk, our staple food of the country. It's harvested from the green banana plant trees seen all around the garden. Now here, let's take closer details how cassava crop is harvested as demonstrated by this African mother farmer. Cassava is a root tuber whereby the stem of the plant measuring 1 to 2 feet once planted underground. It grows into long trees sprouting out with 5-finger cassava leaves. In between 6 months to 1 year, the plant grows cassava crop for harvest below the ground. For access, the soil has to be dug off carefully around the plant to get cassava root tubers below the ground as demonstrated here by the farmer. Unfortunately, most of the mature cassava plants had already been harvested. This was a young cassava plant and the food root tubers were still young, so we left it to regrow as soil was returned back. Now, here is the interesting aspect about cassava can survive for periods that it's even drought resistant and very useful during famine periods. Families can harvest a little of the food tuber to eat and put back the soil to allow it to grow more tubers, or let the small tubers grow bigger for more food production like seen here. So one may not necessarily harvest the whole crop for consumption unless for business as demonstrated by the African father farmer. This garden here all around us full of young cassava plants that will be harvested in a few months for either family consumption or business sales. The garden is a mixture of bananas and cassava and probably beans. It's normal in the African setting to have mixed cropping such that at harvest, the families have a variety of food to eat alongside the sauce. The fruit trees are a plus, hang on to see why. First let's bid farewell to the farmers. Alright, here we see the farmers are all packed up on the wheelbarrow ready on the go. They managed to get 2 sacks of cassava that they will be selling. They also got a few cassava tree stems. These are seeds that they saved to plant for next season. These stems is what's planted in the ground going below 2 to 5 feet. These later spring into the tree plants with root tubers we saw earlier. Isn't nature interesting? Well, we have a little final chat and how my bought cassava will be delivered. I wish I demonstrated how it was cooked, but that could make an interesting future documentary. For now, it's bye-bye to the farmers and appreciating allowing me to capture a little of these sweet village farming moments. The father farmer pushes the heavy wheelbarrow moving with the son. The mother farmer with the daughter tied on the back heads home carrying the banana on the head. It's always amazing how African women balance this out, always. Baby on the back, foodstuffs on luggage on the head, all hands food and still move confidently even on a slippery rain day like these. God bless the farmers, without them, how can we access food?
Bye!
Alright, let's head back into the garden and just explore around so we can have a full feel of the African garden. There are several things in the garden as we see a lot of mixed cropping. We see dry leaves from trees around the garden that can act as shade, but the leaves help in mulching to keep the weeds at bay. The banana leaves are also good for mulching purposes as upon harvest of the fruit, the leaves are spread in the garden alongside its broken stems, which later to decompose fertilizing the soil garden. Talk about decomposition that will support the growth of caterpillars, which will later turn into these beautiful butterflies to chase around the gardens. I have visited or been to many African gardens from childhood, but this was a rare moment to see so many tiny butterflies that I couldn't help myself take a chance to chase some of them around. Hey, why not chase along too? The chase ends up back on this village path between the gardens. This could be a shortcut to some homes. But now let's talk about the trees. Unlike today, our ancestors indeed did a good job of planting trees. Trees are an important asset to have around gardens. Along this path, we see mainly mango trees. The fruits are not yet ready for harvest, but these fruits during the season importantly feed farmers. They act as food by eating the fruits when rested under the tree shade itself. When the sun is high above to hot, the shade will provide comfort to lean on. When the rain and thunderstorms is too much, the trees provide that umbrella. That will not just be for farmers, but even passerbys using this path are welcome to help themselves to these community trees. Unless it's tree orchard for business that may require permission first to eat any fruit there. Trees' leaves can be useful in mulching, but one has got to be careful about what type of tree. Mango leaves are okay as they quickly rot, returning fertilizer nutrients to the soil. However, fruit trees like the jackfruit tree we see here, their leaves are not good for the garden, especially mulching. They take so long to rot that the leaves kinda just suck the nutrients out of the soil for their rotting. So soils around the hack fruits are so bad that hardly anything grows, not even weed grass. Before we head back, carefully recheck the difference on the bushy ground around the jackfruit tree and the mango trees. Though, that's not to say jackfruit is indeed a delicious, unique fruit to eat. Did you know? The fruit is now cooked as a meat substitute for vegetarians in countries such as the UK. It's been super awesomely exploring this African garden, learning about the different crops, and from this angle, we can see the coffee trees crop across afar off. We have explored there before. Another interesting documentary to check out. Well, originally this walk was to head towards the social or hangout gardens in the village. It's said they are a great place to host parties, etc. However, we beautifully and accidentally got lost in the natural gardens that we fortunately even met a young family of farmers that we interacted with alongside, exploring some interesting crops and their harvests. Now it was time to head back to Bliss Gardens after being redirected. The show must go on. This here to the left is the actual fence of the social garden that we passed at the start without realizing. But as we pan the view all around, it's important to point one important aspect that supports this village economy, the stone quarry. A lot of people work in the stone quarry, getting small stones important in house construction for houses like over the horizon. The monies they get supports families, such as paying school fees for their children. The area is a typical village with most households earning less than $2 per day. But that doesn't stop us, the villagers, from having a life. So here we have reached the entrance of the social gardens. When one has saved enough to hold a party, the gardens are accessible for renting. It could be Thursday karaoke night, or having just a drink and barbecue to hang out on a particular evening. So let's check out quickly the gardens. The gardens are surrounded by rich fauna family of a variety of flower species, acting as shade off the parking area, and at the backdrop is the nice open green grass area with set tables and chairs ready for any celebration ranging from birthdays, even wedding receptions. Here, let's take the memory lane walk to the hangout green grassy area of the gardens. The area was still a bit new, with more attractive additions being implemented for the future. Well, check tithe area out. Can you feel that natural green air freshness? Booking of the area for major events can be done in advance for better preparations. However, quick activities like having a drink or eating over can be just a walk in any time, any day. You're most welcome!
Hey, buddy.
Well, let's take a quick walk around to the back of the gardens, checking the washout area and taking steps out to the back area before heading out of the gate via the reception area to the left. They probably have conference rooms for workshops, and surely in future they may expand the area with on-site accommodations with more visitors coming into this village area. Many outsiders are now coming in the area to explore land sales and sleep over for more explorations, and this is their perfect fit for now. We have also churches inviting international visitors to hold crusades, and this place has accommodated them. So while in the area, why not check it out yourself and hang out here? Alright, I have reached the village center and entrance to the only village supermarket where our first journey started. Visit us if you are off from Entebbe Airport. It's been a pleasure.